a lot of the outskirts of Los Angeles. They were originally called the Gabrielino people, which is a more common term by the Spanish missionaries when they first came over. And so that term has been sort of adopted and carried through since initial contact. So traditionally, our people would have been identified by their village. And there were over 200 villages within our territory. So they would be associated with family clans, family villages, and then it sort of went up the tier. We didn't really have a name that identified us as a people. And so the sort of the survivors in the 70s, my dad and my aunt included, went back to the archives. They went back to one of the last speakers of our language, which was Narcisa Rosemyre. And in some of the historical documents, she had mentioned that the people called themselves of Tovaangar, Tongva, people of the earth. And so that term was sort of adopted by those that wanted to separate themselves from the mission system. It was very controversial in the 90s because there were several different bands of Gabrielino Tongva. My dad always identified as Tongva and not as Gabrielino as a way to sort of separate ourselves from those people associated with the mission and being adopted into mission culture. And so I carry that on in the way that I introduce myself and the way that I identify. However, I also respect those who that identify as the Gabrielino. There's several other groups, and that's their choice to identify in the way that they want to. And it's really kind of interesting with our tribal group because other groups like Cahuilla and Luiseño, many of them have sort of gotten rid of the Spanish terminology for their people, and they've sort of adopted their traditional names now. And it's become commonplace and accepted. And we are still kind of dealing with that, like, I guess the blowback from originally trying to do that in the 90s. So yeah, I identify as Tongva. I also include Gabrielino when I talk now to try to be more inclusive of all the people that are part of our tribal community.